Have you ever thought, I tried that before and it didn't work, so what's the point in trying again? Maybe you tried something once or even a couple of times, and it didn't turn out the way you hoped. You felt anxious, embarrassed, or frustrated. And that experience became a reason not to try again. Welcome back to Quieting Anxiety. I'm Dr. Monica Frank with Excel at Life. In today's episode, we're exploring how overgeneralization affects anxiety. By creating the belief that one negative experience means every future attempt will have the same result. That kind of thinking may feel protective, but is actually a trap. It's a common thinking error called overgeneralizing, and it can feed anxiety, discouragement, and avoidance. Learning to challenge that thinking can open the door to growth, flexibility, and a renewed willingness to try. Let's begin by taking a moment to breathe. Gently inhale and exhale. Let your shoulders drop, soften your jaw. Feel your body supported by the space around you. And as you listen today, allow yourself to stay open. Open to the idea that things can be different, even if they haven't been in the past. Let yourself imagine a hallway filled with closed doors. One door you opened in the past led to something disappointing or painful. But now you're standing in front of a different door. It looks similar, and your mind wants to say, "Don't open it. You already know what's behind it." But do you? That moment of hesitation, that internal voice saying, "Don't try again," is overgeneralization. It convinces you that what happened before will happen again, regardless of what's changed. It protects you from disappointment by keeping you from possibility. Take a breath. Remind yourself, this is not the same door. The moment is different. You are different. Just pause here with the possibility that what's behind this new door could be something new, could be something better. Many people are familiar with the quote, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results." This quote is used to suggest that we should try different approaches when something isn't working. And that makes sense, to a degree. But it's also been taken out of context. Sometimes people use it as a reason to quit too early. They might say, "I tried that once, it didn't work. Why bother?" This is where overgeneralizing comes in. Overgeneralizing means taking a single experience and using it to predict future outcomes. It's believing that because something happened once or even a few times, it will always happen. It leads to assumptions like, "No one will ever help me," or "Every time I try, I fail." Let me give you an example. A college student reaches out to someone she knows at a company to ask for help with a job search. The person is dismissive and says, "I can't help you." The student interprets this as rejection and feels embarrassed. She decides not to reach out to anyone else for help. She says, "I'm not going to be able to get anyone to help me." This is a clear example of overgeneralization. She believes that because one person refused to help, no one else will either. But what if she looked at the situation differently? Maybe the person she contacted was having a bad day. Maybe they were worried about their own job security. Or maybe they simply weren't the right person to help. Those factors might not apply to the next person she contacts. The situation could be completely different. But overgeneralization shuts the door before she ever finds out. Overgeneralizing not only makes you anxious, it keeps you stuck. It prevents you from being persistent and learning from experience. It tells you, don't try, you already know how it'll go. And when you believe that, you miss out on the chance to try a new approach, meet a new person, or build new skills. Highly successful people don't generalize failure. In fact, many of them expect failure and learn from it. Think of someone in sales. One rejection isn't seen as personal or predictive. It's just part of the process. Reaching success often requires trying again and again, adjusting along the way. When I was young and first learning to be assertive, I practiced by asking for discounts in stores. At first, I wasn't very effective. My tone was hesitant, my words were vague. You wouldn't consider giving me a discount, would you? Not surprisingly, I didn't get many results. But I kept trying different approaches. One day, I looked a salesperson in the eye and confidently asked, "How much of a discount are you giving?" To my surprise, he immediately offered a 30% discount. If I had overgeneralized from my many earlier failures, I never would have learned how to be more assertive. So, what keeps you in the overgeneralizing mindset? Often it's fear of failing again, fear of feeling the same pain or embarrassment, fear that if you try and don't succeed, it means something about who you are. But those fears are based on assumptions, not facts. Overgeneralization makes you treat every new situation as if it were identical to the past, but it's not. Before we explore how to challenge this thinking pattern, it helps to understand the broader concept of psychological flexibility. Psychological flexibility is the ability to adapt your thoughts and behaviors in response to changing circumstances, rather than sticking to rigid patterns that may no longer serve you. It includes several important components. First, it's about recognizing when a situation is different and requires a new response. If you have experienced hurt or trauma, your mind may expect the same outcome again, even when the context has changed. Learning to assess each moment for what it is, not what it was, is a powerful step toward growth. Second, psychological flexibility means being able to shift your behavior when it's interfering with your goals or values. Instead of expecting others or circumstances to change, you begin to work with what you can influence, your own response. Third, flexibility supports emotional balance. It helps you maintain health and purpose through stress by encouraging self-care and perspective, rather than rigidly pushing through or giving up. And finally, it's about aligning your actions with your values. When you act in ways that reflect what truly matters to you, even when things are uncertain, you build a sense of internal consistency and peace. This concept is at the heart of cognitive behavioral therapy. In fact, research shows that as people practice CBT, especially with mindfulness and exposure work, they often become more psychologically flexible. They're more willing to try, to adjust, to keep going. So how do you challenge this thinking pattern of overgeneralization? The fact that you're listening to this podcast right now is a sign that you're not doing the exact same thing. You're already challenging overgeneralization and developing psychological flexibility by trying something new. Maybe you've tried other ways of managing anxiety that didn't work the way you had hoped, but you're here now, trying again, with new tools, new understanding, and a willingness to look at things differently. That alone means you're interrupting the pattern of overgeneralization. Every time you try again, you bring something new to the table. More knowledge, more skill, a different context, a different person. The variables are always changing. To change overgeneralization, first recognize when you're doing it. Notice when you think things like, that didn't work before, so it won't work now. Or every time I try, I get hurt. Pause and ask, what's the actual evidence? Am I assuming the outcome based on fear or on fact? Next, identify the differences. Is this a new situation? Have I grown since the last time? Is this a different person or environment? Even small changes matter. If anything is different, the outcome could be different too. Finally, and probably most importantly, be willing to try. You don't have to be certain it will work. You only need to be open to the possibility that it might. Every experience, even the ones that don't go as planned, teaches you something useful. And sometimes what didn't work before does work now, simply because you've changed. So think about a situation you've avoided because of past experience. Ask yourself, am I assuming the outcome? What might be different this time? What can I do differently? Just being curious about the answers can open up space to try again. For this week, try keeping track of moments when you notice yourself overgeneralizing. When do you say, I already know how this will go? When do you feel the urge to quit before you even begin? Make a note of the situation and then gently challenge the thought. Is this the same situation? Am I the same person? If not, remind yourself, I don't have to expect the same outcome in a different situation. And if you'd like a supportive practice to go with this episode, you can listen to the companion audio, Opening the Door to Possibility, that helps reinforce flexibility and the willingness to try again. As we close today's episode, return to that image of the hallway with many doors. Picture yourself standing before one of those closed doors. You feel the hesitation, the memory of what happened last time. But this is not the same moment. You are not the same person. Place your hand on the doorknob, breathe in, and consider the possibility. This could lead somewhere new. You reach out, you breathe, and this time you open the door. You can choose to try again. You can learn to change your thinking. And you have the courage to believe that things can be different. Until next time, keep practicing, keep breathing, and keep moving forward.